You've seen our first impressions of it, you've seen our comparisons with other phones. Now it's time for the full review of one of the hottest phones in the market that you probably cannot buy, the OnePlus 2. But before we get to that, if this is your first time here, or in case you're one of those people who've noticed that I've not done this in a while, my name's Ash, this is C4E Tech, and you're watching my full review of the OnePlus 2. Let's get started. Videoblocks has for long been the go-to place for stock footage, After Effects templates and so on. Now, with the launch of a marketplace that offers members deals on clips in addition to the vast unlimited library, Videoblocks offers great value. I personally use Videoblocks for After Effects templates and transitions. And as a viewer, you can sign up for a free 7-day trial by going to vblocks.co/x/c4etech0915. During these 7 days, you get access to the unlimited library and members-only pricing in the marketplace. So I'll leave a direct link in the description, do check that out. As always, let's start with the built-in design. With the OnePlus 2, OnePlus have gone with metal to the sides. To the right, we have the volume rockers and the power button. The secondary noise-cancelling microphone and the 3.5mm headphone jack can be found up top. We have the speaker and a USB Type-C port at the bottom. The USB Type-C port lets you plug the cable in either way. Well, that means no more hunting to find the right way to plug your cable in. There is a downside. With Type-C being new technology, you'd have to lug that cable around. But that's just the way it is, the price to pay for being an early adopter. Anyway, moving on. To the front, on top, we have a notification LED, sensors, earpiece, and a 5-megapixel front-facing camera. Lower below, we have the 5.5-inch display, and at the bottom, we have 3 capacitive keys. The one at the center also doubles as a fingerprint sensor. This is not a physical key. You can't press it down like with the S6 or the iPhone 6, but it's still a capacitive home key nonetheless. To the back, we have the dual LED flash, a 13-megapixel rear camera with optical image stabilization, laser autofocus, and the OnePlus branding below that. The back is user removable, and inside we find a tray that houses 2 nanoSIM slots. The 3300 mAh battery is sealed though. It's worth noting that OnePlus will be selling back replacements to help you customize the look and feel of your OnePlus 2. And to the left, we have a toggle. This lets you toggle between 3 states, either allow all notifications or just the priority ones, or even turn off notifications entirely. Overall, the OnePlus 2 feels nice in hand. It's even slightly shorter and narrower than its predecessor, but it is a little thicker and 13 grams heavier. That's largely due to the use of metal. The 175-gram weight feels evenly spread, and the OnePlus 2 doesn't feel too heavy. Thanks to the 5.5-inch display, single-handed usage at all times might be a little difficult. Talking about that display, it's now covered by Gorilla Glass 4. While the resolution is still full HD, OnePlus seem to have used a better panel this time around. The display is sharp, contrast and saturation seem improved from the last generation, and it's also plenty bright, meaning sunlight legibility is good. You shouldn't have issues outdoors. Let's now talk about what's underneath the hood. The OnePlus 2 is powered by a 64-bit octa-core Snapdragon 810 chip. That's 4 Cortex-A57 cores clocked at 1.8 GHz each, 4 Cortex-A53 cores clocked at 1.5 GHz each, coupled with an Adreno 430 GPU, and 3 GB of RAM on the 16GB variant, 4 GB of RAM on the 64GB variant. If you've noticed, the Cortex-A57 cores on the OnePlus 2 are clocked lower than other implementations of Snapdragon 810 on phones like the G Flex 2, the One M9, the Mi Note Pro, and it's thanks to this lower clock speed that the OnePlus 2 didn't really overheat. Meaning the 810 chip inside didn't have to throttle quite as aggressively as on other devices. So while the OnePlus 2 managed to run every intensive game that we threw at it with ease without dropping frames or lagging, it still did not exhibit signs of overheating. Good stuff from OnePlus. The audio via the downwards facing speaker was loud and clear, no issues with call quality or the audio via the 3.5mm headphone jack either. Next up, let's talk battery. The OnePlus 2, like I said, is powered by a 3300 mAh non-user replaceable battery. Now, coupled with the fact that it still sports a full HD display and a lower clocked 810 chip, I had great expectations going in. Sadly, I was disappointed, initially at least. In my first few days with the OnePlus 2, I barely managed to get 3 hours of screen on time. But with the recent update that OnePlus pushed out, the battery life has improved. I get about 3.5 to 4 hours of screen on time now. On a looping video playback test, the OnePlus 2 currently lasts about 9 hours. While that's lesser than what I'd get with the OnePlus 1, it's still pretty decent. And I only expect it to improve as the software matures. Anyway, let's now move on to the camera. The OnePlus 2 sports a 13 megapixel rear camera with optical image stabilization, and there's even a laser assist for autofocus. Pictures shot with the OnePlus 2 were good. The colors were accurate, exposure and white balance were spot on. The dynamic range was decent as well. The shutter speed's fast, the camera is quick to focus, but sometimes, especially when indoors or under low light, the images turned out a bit too noisy for my liking. 4K video recording was again decent, but here I found the dynamic range lacking a bit. The 5 megapixel front shooter performed adequately. On the user interface side of things, the OnePlus 2 uses OnePlus's own camera app now. Swipe from the left and there are regular modes like slow motion and panorama. There are 3 toggles, HDR, Clear Image and Beautify to the right. Clear Image combines 10 images to improve detail and provide better quality. Well, there aren't a lot of options here. What's there works well and complements the decent hardware. This is a functional UI. Overall, while the camera on the OnePlus 2 doesn't measure up to say the likes of cameras found on the G4 or the S6, it's definitely a good camera, a step up from the one found on the OnePlus 1. With that, let's now talk about software. The OnePlus 2 runs on Android 5.1 Lollipop with OnePlus's Oxygen OS 2.0 on top. No more CyanogenMod here. Oxygen OS is mostly stock but for a few tweaks. For starters, just like with the OnePlus 1, you get to choose between on-screen and capacitive keys. You can even customize what each button does. I've set up the home key to mimic Samsung's quick camera launch functionality. You also have unlock gestures with the screen off and get to choose between light and dark themes of the UI. And then there's the new Oxygen OS feature called Shelf. This is a screen where your commonly used apps and frequent contacts are listed. With Oxygen OS, there are also a few issues worth mentioning. The fingerprint sensor is very buggy. The home key in itself is responsive, but fingerprint detection was spotty at best, even with the latest firmware update. In my time with the OnePlus 2, I also found the OS, the firmware itself, a little buggy. There were times where my OnePlus 2 would randomly freeze. I ended up having to turn my screen off and on a few times a day, and maybe even reboot once a day on an average. But barring these, the OnePlus 2 was smooth, apps opened up quick, the 4 gigs of RAM helped immensely with multitasking, and there wasn't any lag. With that, we get to the question of should you get the OnePlus 2? I'd say that the OnePlus 2, despite the software issues and the omission of OnePlus 1 features like 4K DCI recording and NFC, is still a good phone. It's a phone that has a lot more pros than cons. If you're thinking of getting one, you need to not buy into the hype and have realistic expectations. That's my only advice to you. You need to take into account that Oxygen OS is still in its infancy. That being said, it is getting better with each update, and I personally believe that as the software matures, most issues should be ironed out. So keep these in mind before you buy yourself a OnePlus 2, because if you find these acceptable, then the OnePlus 2 might just be a great buy for you. If you end up going in expecting a 2016 flagship killer, sadly you're going to be disappointed. Anyway, the biggest pro for the OnePlus 2 is its price. It does provide a great bang for your buck, and the price even makes it a little easier to overlook its flaws. But I'm still not a fan of the invite system. To go up the reservation list, you need to get others to sign up, meaning you need to spam. And that's just not right. In my honest opinion, I really wish OnePlus can find another way to do this. So anyway, that's just me. What do you think? Love the invite system? Hate it? Find it degrading that a brand forces you to spam to actually get you to give them your money? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. So with that, we get to the end of this review. Hope you liked it. Hope you found it useful. If you did, do give this video a thumbs up. And for more videos like this, stay subscribed. So that's it for now. Thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, this is Ash here from C4E Tech signing off. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye now.